Thank you. I really enjoy what I learned today. And I have one question. It's about witches, voodoo. For example, I've been told that I was under the power of voodoo. That's why everything that I try to do in a life, we drop right at the end when you start to take off. So I consulted a medium who said I was under the false exterior power of spell. So I don't know what you think about spells. How can somebody go along with the flow if it doesn't have a freedom?
Well, the most important thing that we want to say to you is that we agree that you have been under a spell, but it is under the spell of law of attraction. And what we mean by that is when, this will be easy. You'll understand this all very easily. So we'll just take our time and explain it to you and everyone else in a way that will be very easy for you to understand. In this environment where law of attraction is the basis, what you give your attention to is already vibrating, and when you give your attention to it, if you give your attention to it long enough, a few seconds really is all it takes, you begin to activate that vibration within you. So when you look at something you want and you give it your attention, you activate the vibration of it within you, and law of attraction will give you more of it. But when you look at something you don't want and you give your attention to it, law of attraction brings you more of that. So it's a very common thing for someone to live something not knowing about law of attraction and not knowing about their attention to it, and have an experience, and then give their attention to that experience even more now that they've lived it, and then cause even more vibration about it, so that the more they think about it, the more they activate the vibration, and the more they activate the vibration, the more they get it. Esther would have said, I'm under some sort of spell because people are staining my stones and my washer is overflowing. And in other words, it's like the better it gets, and the worse it gets, the worse it gets. So it turns out that all this spell is, it's not something that somebody else does to you. Nobody can vibrate for you. So anything that's happening to you, you are doing to yourself. But when things happen that you don't want to happen, the logical explanation is, I wouldn't do this to me because I care about how I feel. I wouldn't do this to me, therefore somebody else must be doing it. And there are so many who would like to agree with that because their lives are out of control too. When, in fact, most everybody on your planet does not understand law of attraction. So that's why they're running around trying to control conditions so that they can feel better. Anytime you expect something, it becomes your experience. One day, some time ago, when Esther and Jerry were staying at home more and had more time for telephone consultations, a young woman called because she said she was being bothered by what she called icky beings. In other words, they were not nice like us. That was her explanation. And we said to her, nothing can come to anyone without an invitation. So how did you invite them? And of course she wasn't having any of that because she didn't think she would have invited something that she did not want. But as we visited with her more, she had someone in her life that she wanted to do something that she wanted him to do, and he was choosing to do something different. So she had gone to a bookstore and bought a book on witchcraft, and she was actually trying to figure out how to make him do what she wanted him to do. And we said, can you not see that in your determination to try to control someone, you've attracted someone to try to control you? In other words, it's your invitation of the same thing. It could not come if it were not active in your vibration. So when there are so many well-meaning people. Oh, let's start in another place. We know people who things are not going well for them. They want them to. Their life makes them want this, but they've got this. And their life makes them want this, but they've got this. And they are looking at this and looking at this and looking at this. Wanting that, wanting that, wanting that, but getting this, getting this, getting this. And finally, they are so discouraged by it. They feel so much lack of power that they go to someone to explain, why can't I get over there? And the explanations are amazing. Some of the explanations say, well, that's happening to you because you are not worthy. Some of the explanations say, you need to come to our church and you need to repent and you need to think the right thoughts and do the right deeds. Some of the explanations say, oh, you were bad in a past life and now you're being punished for it in this life. And some of them say, oh, it is because of voodoo. Someone has put a spell on you.
Yeah.
And some will say, oh, it is because of something your mother did. And we say, all of it is voodoo as far as we are concerned. All of that is what is a fluffy word we can use for it?
Magic.
All of it is
Magic.
Rubbish. All of it is rubbish. But the person that is giving you that information is often well-meaning because they themselves can't figure out for the life of them why you, beautiful you, can't get over there. And so they've just explained so many things, and we are explaining that it is law of attraction. We are wanting you to understand that it is empowerment. There are so many stories of people. Now, this is the part we really wanted you to hear. We know of many situations where someone wants this, but they've got this. And then someone says to them, well, the reason you can't get there is because a spell has been put on you. But I have the power to break that spell. And then they go, abracadabra. That's done. And if the person believed enough in the voodoo, and if the person believed enough in the breaking of the spell, now all the resistance is gone and they're on their way to what they want. But it wasn't because the voodoo ever existed to begin with. It's because now they are not pushing against the voodoo that they believed existed to begin with. You follow? So it's all well and good for us to tell you that it's not possible for anyone to put a spell on you. And we promise you it is not possible for someone to put a spell on you. But then so many people say, well, then how do you explain why things have not gone easier for me? And we say, because you keep saying, why aren't things going easier for me? In other words, the vibration of your being is your point of attraction. You just can't get around that. And we want you to understand that you can move it slowly to a new place. And with each movement to the new place, everything in your life experience begins to change to reflect the new understanding. There is no assertion in this universe. There is no assertion. No one can, and even the well-meaning man who is wanting to assert his healing, we say, you can't even assert healing into another's experience because it's all about attraction. You can influence it, you can root for it, you can pay for it, you can soothe for it, you can pray for it, you can want it, you can believe it, you can do everything in your power to try to get the person who has all of the power to believe it. So when somebody is so sure of something that they make you believe in it, that's the power of influence. But you're doing it to yourself, you see. You hold all of the power. And the only place that freedom ever comes is in the understanding that I hold the power of my experience. Not your experience, not your experience. I hold the power of my experience, you see. So if we were standing in your physical shoes and someone says, a spell has been put on you, or even more, I have the power to put a spell on you, we would just smile at them and say, okay, I hope it's a good one. Please put a spell on me for abundance and prosperity, and lots of lovely relationships. And, oh no, they would say, I'm not going to put a good spell on you. I'm going to put a bad spell on you. And we would just say, oh, well, okay, go ahead. And they might be surprised at your lack of concern. And then you would say, I have a bigger spell. I have a spell of well-being. And my vibration is dominant in my experience. And while you could influence me to thoughts that could hinder my well-being, and that's what a spell is, it's just someone using their power of influence to get you to focus in a way that doesn't let your well-being flow for a while. You see?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Jerry and Esther will laugh sometimes because sometimes, like right now, they have a water leak in their coach. So that in the basement where some of their things are stored, and they can't figure out where it's coming in. It's coming in through the door. Well, they haven't actually asked us. It's coming in through the door. But when something happens that you don't want to, and only when it rains or when it's washed. But there's something about when something you don't want is happening in your experience. It's like the worse it gets, the worse it gets, the worse it gets. As you get focused on something, and then when you get focused on another thing, those things stop happening, and Esther will laugh and say, the curse has lifted. And it's because she's recognizing that sometimes they get on this track where everything goes so beautifully. It's as if the entire world loves and respects them and holds doors open for them and paves the way for them and honors them everywhere they go. And then sometimes it doesn't feel quite like that. And they've begun to notice that it all depends on what got their attention and how much of their attention they gave to it. In other words, you can bless yourself with the train of thoughts you think, or you can curse yourself with the train of thoughts you think. But it is all your doing. And so as you begin to laugh about this, and as you notice how many things go right in your experience, and begin saying, the curse is lifted, the curse is lifted, in time, you will feel frivolous about a curse in the way Jerry and Esther do. You will understand that you have such control of your experience that you will actually enjoy watching other people flex their muscles around you as they try to convince you that they have power in your experience when you know they have none. It is so satisfying to know that under any and all conditions, you get to call the shots.
Thanks, God.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.